Good morning, everybody. Welcome to One Love Consciousness Movement Sunday Connection. We hadn't done this one in a while, so this is one that's easy to sing along to, and you should. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey. I love the words right here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Sing it with me. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. Just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. Yeah, I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Come on, sing now. My soul is welcome here. Yeah, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Yeah, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome here. 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 I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Yes, it is. Higher than the mountains that I face, constant through the trials and the change. One thing remains. One thing remains. One more time. Higher than the mountains that I face, stronger than the power of the grave. Listen. Constant through the trials and the change. One thing remains. One thing remains. Your love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love. And on and on and on and on it goes. Yes, it overwhelms and satisfies my soul. And I never ever have to be afraid. One thing never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love. And on and on and on and on it goes. Yes, it overwhelms and satisfies my soul. And I never ever have to be afraid. One thing remains. This one thing remains. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love, your love, oh, your love, your unconditional love. Hey. Good morning, family. Welcome to One Love Consciousness Movement Sunday Morning Connection. As always, I'm honored to be here with you on this beautiful Sunday. If you hear that fan noise in the background that you heard on Wednesday, it's because they still have not fixed our air condition. We are getting a lesson in the heat is on. Actually, I probably should have sung that this morning as our opening song. Anyway, glad to have you here. We're in a series, and the series is Making Sense of Life. We have talked about smell, how you smelling. We talked about the three Hebrew children and how the three Hebrew children were facing a fiery trial in their life. Someone in authority over the land threw them into a fiery furnace because they would not practice that particular king's religious bend, and that they experienced protection in the midst of the fire, so much that the fire only burned off what had been put on them to bind them. We talked about how this is really more metaphorical than it is literal. I don't have a necessity to believe that God actually delivered them physically from a fire. I believe this is metaphorical. This is about when we go through fiery trials and people in our life or energies in our life try to bind us, try to lock us down and keep us from advancing, that if we jump into the fire or if we're thrown into the fire, either way, we're going to be taken care of. Ultimately, that physical fire will not be able to harm us to the degree that it terminates our life, that it will actually help to refine instead of confine. It'll burn off the confines from our life. And that's the beauty, I think, of traveling this journey with expanding consciousness. So we talked about that, and then we talked last week about how you taste Him. What are the flavors of your life? What flavors do you want in your life? When people experience you as a flavor, what kind of flavor do they experience from your existence? And do you love the sweet savor of the sweet taste? Is it the sweetness of love and kindness that's coming through? Is it the spiciness of adventure and excitement? What about I love this, the tang of your authenticity? Are people experiencing the beautiful taste of authenticity and passion in your life? Are people experiencing you in a high vibrational way? Or does it leave a bad taste in their mouth when they come in contact with you, when you come in contact with other people? Has there been any contact with someone else that's left a bad taste in your mouth? And we talked about those senses. This week, we're dealing with the sense of touch. I want us to get into what this sense really is all about. And I want us to look at some scientific and technical things. I want us to look at how touch affects us emotionally and physically. But I also want to get into a story that I think will be spiritually a blessing to you about touch.
Human beings, first of all, crave touch. We don't just crave touch physically, but we crave touch emotionally and spiritually. Most of us who are engaged this morning know that there are certain movie styles and TV shows that resonate with us, that those particular TV shows or movies evoke a particular type of emotion or a range of emotions. In any given movie, you can experience an action film, you can experience action, you can experience romance, you can experience sadness, fear, anxiety, happiness, and joy, all within one movie. We love to be touched as human beings. We love to be touched in our souls. We love to be touched in our bodies. All of us seek out connection. Every human being wants to engage in connection, wants to feel a sense of belonging and feel a sense of being touched in our hearts and in our bodies and our minds. We seek connection and engagement in spiritual communities. One Love Consciousness Movement, First Unity Spiritual Campus, provides music, provides entertainment, provides all of those things for emotional fulfillment. And that's beneficial to us as individuals. It's also beneficial to us as a collective. On a physical level, the sense of touch is experienced through the skin. The skin is the largest organ of the human body. And isn't it interesting that the entire body is covered with skin? And skin is what gives us the ability to experience touch. It is an intricate and a complex system for our bodies and allows us to experience the world around us in unique and special ways. Through our touch, through the skin, we're able to detect pressure, vibration. We're able to detect temperature, pleasure, and pain, and a variety of other different, as it's referred to in biology, tactile stimuli. How you like that? Tactile stimuli. All of us are able to experience a very complex and intricate world and a unique world of experiences through the experience of touch. When we touch something, we're not just making contact with an object, but we're also opening ourselves up to a world of different types of sensations. Remember this, we feel pain, we feel pleasure, we feel hot, cold, soft, hard, smooth, and rough. And these sensations are actually vital to each other. Many of us would judge a particular feeling against another one and say, I don't like that one. But did you know you would not be able to experience hot without experiencing cold? You wouldn't be able to understand soft if you couldn't understand hard through touch. The same is true with smooth and rough. You wouldn't have any way to have that experience without the contrast. And that's why it's important for us to not be so judgmental in this life. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there's no one particular thing touch-wise that is right or wrong. They just are. Every sensation simply exists and helps to coexist with its counterpart. In fact, the only way to have balance for the in is to experience the out. The only way to have balance for the smooth is to have experienced the touch of rough. The only way to find beauty in this life is to even understand what ugly is. This is one of the reasons that the Tao Te Ching actually tells you to let go of the judgments of both. If you want to really live free of ugly, you'll have to be willing to live free of beauty. Isn't that interesting? Maybe the saying is true when it comes to touch, that all things are working together for our good. All things are working together for our good, and that includes touch. So as we go further on in this, remember, when it comes to the sensation of touch, be mindful that there's really nothing right or wrong with touch. It just is. In fact, say that. It just is. Think about that for a moment. Maybe let go of some of the judgments when you understand that in this life, some things just are as they are. A cactus is not trying to harm you with its needles. It's really trying to defend itself. A snake is not trying to harm you with its bite. It's really just trying to defend its own existence. And it's operating out of fear. And so it lashes out and bites. See, we have such quick judgments about people and about circumstances that we forget a lot of times to try to see it their way, from that person's point of view or from that animal's point of view. But back to touch. Touch plays a vital role in how we navigate and understand the world around us. It gives us the ability to shape our perceptions and our experiences. We have not stopped and thought about touch much. I mean, in this series, when we're making sense of life, hopefully so far as we've talked about smell and taste, we've been able to sort of get more in touch with those experiences and have a deeper appreciation for the physicality, but also the emotional and the spiritual aspects of this. Human touch is so vitally important for a variety of reasons. Here's one of the things that I want to point out as we move through this process before we get to this story actually from the Bible. I want us to talk a little bit about the science and the emotional side of touch. It is literally proven that human touch can help to reduce stress and anxiety. It can help you to improve your mood and increase the feelings of social connection and a sense of bonding. Human touch is vitally important to our developmental state. Or as it said in a particular article that I read, it's developmentally important. From the moment we are born until the moment we die, we crave the comfort of physical touch. It's like a language that we all understand. Even if you can't understand someone speak, you can understand the feeling or the connection of touch. Babies rely on the warmth of hugs and touch, gentle touch, to make them feel a sense of safety and security. Even infants, when they're born, love to have their hands held. To experience that touch reduces their anxiety and gives them a sense of security, and it actually helps them to grow more healthily. It changes how they experience the world. It's also culturally and socially significant. Think about this. Because as we're talking about touch here, think about how it's a universal language. Everything from a handshake to a hug to a tender kiss on the cheek. All of these physical interactions speak volumes without ever having to use words. This is how powerful touch is. Touch is so important to us as a culture, as a human species. We desire it so much that, again, a shaking of a hand can help you to experience a sense of respect. A hug can help you to experience love. A kiss on the cheek can help you to experience a moment of intimacy that actually literally helps bodily hormones to be released toward healing and well-being. In our fast-paced world, in the world that we live in now, where we have more ways than ever to connect, we're less connected because often we have gotten to the place where we navigate this life through screens and keyboards. We navigate this life through electronic devices. That's why, look, me coming to you across the airways, it is important, but it's important for you to have local community. It's important for you to get close to somebody, to be able to shake a hand, kiss a cheek, hug a neck. Because it's important for us to remember that the power of touch is even more powerful than just words. Years ago, AT&T kind of started this. It was their slogan to say, reach out and touch someone. That was Bell South and AT&T's tagline. Through the phone, you can reach out and touch someone. And they were correct to a degree. But even more important than words is that physical interaction. If we don't have that shared humanity, if we don't have that shared sense of touch, we will begin to become so disconnected as a society. And we can see that clearly now. That often, instead of going to our children's bedrooms, knocking on the door and saying dinner is ready, we have a tendency to text them. And going to that room and seeing them, making contact with them is vitally important. Your children, even your teenagers who act like they don't want to be touched, they actually deep down do, unless trauma has presented a boundary there, or a wall. Not a boundary, but a wall. So we see that it socially and culturally has significance. It's significant to our developmental selves, but it's also biologically significant. I read this in an article this week and I want to share it with you. Touch is so much more important than just a physical feeling. It's like a magical connection that brings people closer together. And I wrote this down. When we touch someone, literally from this article that I read, our bodies release oxytocin. Oxytocin, according to biology, is a special hormone that makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside, but it also releases other hormones into our system that help us to build our immune system. It's like our bodies are actually saying, hey, I trust you. I feel safe with you. I care about you. So I'm encouraging us, the next time that you give someone a hug or a high five, remember that you're not just touching their skin, you're touching their heart, and you're literally helping their body to release healing hormones. It's also emotional well-being and mental health development that comes through touch. So imagine yourself feeling stressed out and feeling overwhelmed, and then a friend shows up and they give you a warm hug. Think about the last time that happened. Think about the last time that you felt overwhelmed and your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife hugged you up. Think about the last time as a young person that you were stressed out and your parent, one of your parents, pulled you in for a hug. It is a simple act of physical touch, but it is a powerful way to help someone feel supported and feel loved and feel the presence. Let me tell you something. Simple things in this life that would help us shift as a society is to move away from just saying I love you to showing I love you with a high five or a hug or a kiss on the cheek. When you hold someone's hand during a difficult conversation, according to Science Journal, when you hold someone's hand during a difficult conversation, or you give them a high five when they've done a good job on something, you create a connection that's beyond your words. So you can say I'm proud of you, but high-fiving or hugging or holding someone's hand during a conversation is so much more powerful. It's a way that we express our love, but we also express our empathy and solidarity and a sense of safety with those that we care about in a world that is full of technology, often that replaces face-to-face interactions. The power of human touch should not be underestimated. And it helps us to build strong relationships. Now let me share a story with you. To get this away from just being a TED Talk, let me move this maybe in a more spiritual direction. When I was thinking about the power of touch, I was thinking about a story that I heard growing up and a story that I actually studied during seminary. And it was found in the book of Luke. It's the New Testament of the Christian Bible, chapter 8, 43 through 48. And I'll read it to you in my own translation. Now there was a woman who had suffered from hemorrhaging for 12 years. And though she had spent all that she had on physicians, no one could cure her. So she, hearing about Jesus, ventured into Jerusalem, the main city, and she came up behind Yeshua ben Joseph, so that she would not be seen. And she touched the fringe of his clothes. And immediately healing energy went out from him, and her bleeding stopped. Then Jesus asked, "Who touched me?" When no one fessed up, Peter said to him, "Master, the crowds surround you and they press in on you. Everyone is touching you. But Jesus said, no. Someone touched me with deep, abiding despair, but powerful faith. Because I noticed that virtue or power flowed out from me. Now, when the woman saw that she could no longer remain hidden, she came trembling to Jesus. And falling down before him, she declared in the presence of all of the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. And he said this to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Now, face value the story. It's a wonderful miracle of how you could just get in proximity of Jesus and be healed. But this particular story is sandwiched between two other miracles. Jesus actually probably just really with a couple of his disciples. We know Luke was there because it was an eyewitness account and he wrote it down, and Luke was a physician. And this story actually is found in all of the synoptic gospels. The synoptic gospels would be Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So more than likely, at least, that Trinity was with Jesus on this journey. We know Peter was there also because Peter is the one who answers and says, "Master, everybody's touching you." So that quartet was at least there with Jesus. But it's in the synoptic gospels because Matthew writes to the Hebrew people. Mark is writing really from more a political standpoint, and Luke is writing as a physician. And in this story, they're dealing with Jesus and the quartet going to Jairus' house to heal his daughter. Because Jairus, who was a part of the governmental structure of that time, his daughter of 12 years old had died. Now, we see the number 12 show up twice in this story. This is metaphor. It's teaching us to look for a deeper understanding. But the number 12 is brought up each time. This woman had an issue of blood hemorrhaging from her body for 12 years. And Jairus' daughter had died at 12 years old. 2 women, 12. Those are the numbers that are being dealt with here. So it's asking us to look for a deep truth. This story of the woman with the issue of blood is sandwiched between 2 other miracles. Jesus is busy. Jesus is going about doing what Jesus does. Jesus doesn't speak to this woman, but this woman had said in her heart already, and this is found in Mark's gospel, or Mark's account of this. She had said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made whole. She had already said in her heart and set her intention, if I can just get close to this guy who they say works miracles, if I can just get in proximity to him, he doesn't even have to say anything to me. If I can just touch even the hem of his garment, I can be made whole. Now, it's interesting that it says that she touched his garment, or she touched the fringe of his robe. More than likely what she got a hold of, metaphorically here, was his prayer shawl. And Jesus' prayer shawl, because he was an Orthodox Jew, his prayer shawl was with him all of the time. And the prayer shawl has knots on the ends. And each knot represents a particular prayer or a particular mantra. It's kind of like the mala beads that I've worn or rosary beads, where you go through and you make affirmative prayers or petitions. Holding that knot, it reminds you to return to a particular vibrational frequency. Jesus stayed in such close contact with his conscious self that his whole vibrational frequency had healing power within it. And Jesus is just on his way to do what he can to bring a miracle to someone else's house. And this woman who has faith gets close to Jesus and touches him. And with that simple touch, she's made whole, made complete. She doesn't even come in contact with his skin, but his vibrational frequency is so high that she receives her healing. Now, whether you believe this is metaphor or believe she really physically received a healing or not, that's fine. Either way is fine. Let's look at this though and remind ourselves of the power of one single touch. By being in proximity to Jesus, this woman receives healing. Let me give you a little backstory. According to Orthodox Jewish belief systems and the culture of that time, a woman who is bleeding is on her menstrual cycle. is not clean. She's unclean. They taught this as being unclean. So that woman could not be in her house. So for that 4 or 5, maybe 6-day period of the month, women had a particular place outside of the walls of the city. That's right, you heard me right. Where they were considered to be unclean for that space of time, and they would have to go and stay outside of the city until they had stopped bleeding. And they had to prove it. Isn't that wild? But this woman's particular issue had gone on for 12 years. My friends, she had not been able to be in her own home, visiting her own children, or around her own husband for 12 years. She had been considered unclean and an outcast in that particular time frame. And she had had to stay away from her own place of abode, her own home, for 12 years. She was so desperate that she was willing to go into the temple place of Jerusalem, into the main city, and risk being seen. And if she had have been seen in her condition, she was putting her own life at risk. Did you know that they could even stone her to death in the city for bringing her unclean self into that space? Worse than that, she is not supposed to touch anyone except for her immediate family during this time of uncleanness. Because if she does, she is also putting her own life at risk of being executed for touching someone else with her unclean state. Why is this such a big deal? Because this is the only place we find in the Gospels where Jesus openly and publicly declares someone as a daughter or a son. And he says to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well," because he knew that her touching him had just put a death sentence on her. And he also knew that according to their customs, if you declare someone your child in open public, you have just adopted them. This woman became Jesus' daughter, all within one single moment. Not only did he heal her disease, but he also released her from her death sentence all at once with one single touch. This story about a single touch brings healing and restoration, full relief of her suffering, and also relieves her death sentence. Emotional, spiritual, and physical healing is what she experiences all in this one moment. When we practice constant contact with our inner divinity, the energy from that engagement, that constant contact, can be felt through our touch to other people. Just know that you are cherished and you are understood by Mother, Father, God, and get in touch with that inner divine presence within you that's never in absence from you. Because you never know when somebody's going to touch just the hem of your garment and be made whole. Healing is like a warm embrace from a loved one. It's like a comforting and a reassurance that everything's going to be okay. It's like finding a kindred spirit who understands your pain and stands with you by your side. It's the feeling of being seen and being heard, of being truly accepted for who you are. Healing is not just physical recovery, but it's also emotional and spiritual growth. It's about finding peace within yourself and connecting with others in a meaningful way. In the end, healing is about finding a sense of belonging in this vast and sometimes overwhelming and crazy world. And that can sometimes happen with a single touch. Healing can also mean not letting fear control your life. This woman had to be brave enough to go and reach and touch. Love can be a simple touch from a friend or a loved one during your moments of pain, or feelings of shame, feelings of despair, intense feelings of isolation or despair. And it reminds us that we are loved and valued as God's children, and that at our very core, we are divine. So take a moment and reach out and seek comfort from that inner Christ that is within you today. Allow yourself to experience the grace and the reassurance that comes from within. Let Christ's consciousness meet you wherever you are in this present moment, whether you are at your lowest point or at the top of the world. Remember that you can find this source of healing on the inside of you, and that can rise up from within you and bring about the touch of divinity that can make you whole. You're not alone. You're never alone. And with one single touch from that divine presence, you can be made whole. In your life, are you willing to begin to bring about healing with a single touch? I'm asking us to get in touch with our inner true self so that we can bring a healing touch to the world around us. So, when people experience you, what do they experience? What is it that touches you? And what are you reaching out to touch today? We all crave that connection. And that connection is available to us, each and every one of us. And all we have to do is reach out and touch that pure presence that's on the inside of us, and allow that presence to in return touch us, staying in constant contact with your true identity, so that everyone you shake a hand with or high five or hug, you bring healing into their life. When people get in proximity of you, what do they experience? Does the touch that people get from you bring healing or pain? I ask you today to consider that. As we continue to make sense of life, how are you smelling? How are you tasting? What's touching you? And what are you reaching out to touch? Allow the presence of God to touch your life every day so that you also can transfer that. See, when the presence of God touches you, you transform. And then you transcend the pains of this life. And then you're powerful enough to transfer that to other people so that people experience the beauty of the love that you are. Even with just a handshake or a hug or a kiss on the cheek, people receive healing from your presence and healing from your touch. So what is touching you? And what are you reaching out to touch? Thank you for being here today. And thank you for being here on this journey with me, us together, working to make sense of this life. I love you very much. And I hope to continue on this journey with you by way of our meditations this coming week. I want you to consider giving financially to this community to support One Love. I mentioned to you, I think last week, so that you could understand that most months, somewhere between $1,800 and $2,000 a month it costs to run this ministry. And we tend to bring in somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200. Consider helping to bridge that gap by whatever gift you'd be willing to give and be a blessing to this community. It's also tax deduction. So when you give, you will get a letter at the beginning of next year that you can use for your income taxes and take that off of your taxes. Consider becoming a sustaining partner with First Unity Spiritual Campus or One Love Consciousness Movement. If you're a member of First Unity Spiritual Campus, I ask you to give there. If you are a member of One Love Consciousness Movement, I ask that you give here. The ways to give will be on the screen as we leave out today. And I want to say thank you for being here. Now go and make it a great week because you can. I'll see you Tuesday.